Welcome to episode 3 of Dan Talks Boxing. Today, I'm joined by one of the all-time great amateurs. He is now 18 and 1 as a professional and one of the best featherweights in the world, Michael Conlan. Mick, thanks for joining me, man.
No worries, Dan. No worries. Good to see you, mate.
So I wanted to start from the very beginning. Obviously, you achieved incredible amateur success, Olympic bronze medalist, Ireland's first ever world champion, European champion, Commonwealth Games champion. The list just goes on. But I want to go back to the very start when you started boxing. What are your earliest memories of boxing and how did you get into it?
So my earliest memories would have been getting woke up to watch like Princeton team and stuff in the early hours of the morning. By my dad and stuff. Come on down, we'll watch this and watch the Mexicans, Morales, Barrera, them type of fights. That would have been kind of where would be my first kind of memories. But my first memories of actually boxing was sent to the boxing gym to learn how to defend themselves, and I just followed them to the gym. I wasn't meant to be there. I was too young. I was only 7 at the time, and the coach didn't want me, and I just kept going though. But then he now to come, he's too young, 7, and I just wanted to be like my older brother. So I like was devastated, cried my eyes out, and went and found another gym, joined it, and was there for a few years. And then the coach had seen me in like a little exhibition and was to get him
Hmm.
back to the club. And I went back, and then the rest is history, man.
Nice, man. Were you natural when you started? Did you take to it pretty well, or did it take? Obviously, it's not an easy thing to get into. How did you start off, like with the technique of boxing, the mindset of it? How did that all? How did that go for you?
No, I was natural right away. I love the feeling of hitting someone and not getting hit. I was the kid who sparring and like laughing at you and sticking my tongue out and making faces in the ring at people. Um, I was just a little bastard, really. If I'm gonna be honest. Sorry for the language, but that's what I was. I was
I,
just a little,
I can say from experience that never changed, man.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like it was that, and like my older brother. There was two older. I have two older brothers, Brendan and Jamie. Jamie's the oldest. Brendan's in between me and Jamie, and me and Brendan always clashed, but Jamie was the one I always looked up to, and I always wanted to be like him. So he took the boxing differently than me. His was like he didn't want to box. The only reason he went to boxing was because Brendan had to go went wanted to go to boxing to defend, learn to defend himself. But his first fight, Brendan's first fight, I think he got really nervous and says, "I don't want to fight." And Jamie was there, and this is, "Will you fight instead?" And he was just like, "All right, I'll do it then." And he went in and fought and ended up winning, and kind of got the love for it that way. But I was like a natural style. I was a boxer, so to say, where he was just rough, ready, and wanted to have a scrap, and that's how he kind of that was his style as well. Like he ended up being like obviously the Irish Mexican stuff. His nickname was because he used to just be in wars. But um, yeah, that was the difference between me and him. I was more of a just a natural kind of you know hit and not get hit kind of kid, and laugh at you and make fun of you. But
Hmm.
he was just no ready for war.
Yeah, no, I remember watching Jamie's old fights on Box Nation, and man, like you say, he was in some wars, man. A good fighter, had some good opponents as well. I can
Yeah.
never pronounce the guy's name, but is it Ancajas, the
And
Filipino?
Kahasai, the German and Kahasai, very good fighter. And he was on a run at that time.
Mm.
He's still champion, I think, but he's slipped off into the background, and I don't think he's fulfilled his potential. Because at one stage he was the man, like.
Yeah, I follow him on Instagram. He hasn't got a huge following, but he's a good fighter, man. He's strong
Yeah.
as well. I was quite surprised because obviously Jamie's a good fighter, and that went and Carlos his way. I'm surprised he hasn't really taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to like. So obviously, you start your boxing. How quickly are you getting into like the actual amateur fights?
Yeah, so like I was I started so I went when I was 7 and basically started when I was 7. And then I started having exhibitions by 7, 8, around then. That's why I have so much fights. I know in box record has me like 100 and something or 90 and something, whatever it is. But I have so much more fights which were never even ever wrote down, you know what I mean? So I had loads of fights, and it was just experience. Like, when you're a kid, I think the best thing for a kid is activity, no non-stop activity. Whether they're winning or losing, it doesn't really matter. At the time when you're a kid, I remember the first time I lost actually was my boy two. So second year, I was 12, I think. I'd already won everything on boy one, won the Ulster novices, the Ulsters, the Antrim novices, the Antrims. And then I went to the All Irelands and I won the All Irelands. So I won every single thing you could win. In
Yeah.
the second year, I kind of started to think like I'm better than what I actually was, and didn't probably put the work in. I ended up losing in the All Ireland final. It was the only thing I lost was the All Ireland final. I lost by 1 point. Um, and that when that happened that day, it was like my world had ended.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it, man. I mean, obviously, like you say, I've sparred you quite a few times. I've seen you spar and even fighting. Like you obviously enjoy it. It's something that you have fun doing. You stick your tongue out from people. I've even checked your heart rate when you were like in round 11, and it's like in the amber zone. You're so relaxed in the ring. um, yeah, it's like I checked my heart rate, and so it's like 199, and you're like round 11 at 155. So what
Uh,
the but
uh,
I wanted to know like how, especially as a kid when this is all new to you, how did you feel before you go into these fights? Like how would you deal with the nerves? How would you overcome that? Because it's a big thing when you're a kid to go in there. Did you feel
listen, even now, still like I get nervous. It's no no different than when I was a kid. I still get nervous. Even in sparring, I get nervous, and I know that I know you do as well because I know you spoke about it. We've spoken before, but like even like in the week of like I know like I have a spar tomorrow. One of my second last spar tomorrow of training camp, and like I know that I've got to go in and perform. So
Mm,
I get nervous about that, and I don't wanna like I know you don't win or lose spars, but I do not like not coming off best in a spar, and that makes me nervous.
mm,
Even still. Um, so yeah, like it's even as a kid, like I always used to just like, my big brother does this, so I can do it. You know what I mean? It was
mm,
that kind of vibe where I was nervous. I was nervous as hell, man. It doesn't it has never changed in terms of I've never went into a fight not nervous. Every fight I go into, I'm nervous.
mm,
Um, no matter who I'm fighting, no matter if it's like someone who I'm really expected to beat and like win easy, that's when I get more nervous
mm,
because I'm more nervous about my level dropping and me not performing to where I need to be. Like my level, a lot of the time when I've fought against lesser opponents, my level drops to like the opponent's level, and
mm,
it's annoying because I know it should be like taking guys out. It happened throughout the amateurs. Like I remember when I kind of was getting on the national squad in the seniors. Um, I was fighting guys who, like even from my own area, it's hard when you're fighting someone from your own area and there's so much on the line, like Commonwealth game selections and stuff. And I was winning by 1 point, but I was going away to international tournaments and win gold medals. And at home, when it's lower kind of level, there's much more on the line
mm.
because it's local as well. The nerves were fucking terrible, mate. It was hard when you're against better guys, the nerves are less.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Innit? I always found that as well. Like I mean, in my biggest fights, like I wasn't as nervous as going in against the journeyman. And I think you put yourself under a lot of pressure. You obviously want to set a high standard, and obviously the stakes aren't higher. But you're thinking to yourself, you
Mm.
always have those negative thoughts like, if I lose to this guy, man, this is a disaster. And that you also want to look good. It's very strange how psychologically that works.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like throughout my pro career, it's been tough in terms of that because like I've had the eyes of the world watching what I've been doing since day one. And I'm coming from obviously a world class amateur, something that like a style that I perfected over 17 or 18 years, whatever it was, what at that time, how long I've been boxing amateur. And like for me, it was a complete different change of styles. Like I was in a new sport also. I was living in LA, so it was like a Mexican style in the gym I was in.
Mm,
And I was trying to change and adapt, and I wasn't looking nowhere near as good. And then at the same time, because the eyes of the world were on me, it criticism and the hate from boxing scribes, boxing journalists, boxing fans. It was terrible, and I paid attention to it at the start,
Mm,
and it hurt me, and it made me hate social media. And people haven't been able to comment on things is like, I mean, everybody has an opinion, like everybody has an arsehole, you know what I mean? So fuck off. No, I don't need to listen to a lot of them, and that's
yeah.
kind of what my approach now is like I don't really give a fuck if you say something nice about me or bad about me.
I think that's the
It's
best
that's
way.
your thing, huh?
Yeah, especially in a sport as individual and as brutal as boxing. And I think the thing with social media that I found is, people like it's a small majority, but it like one comment can fester if you let it. But for that person, it's just a blip of their day. They haven't even thought about it. They just type something like, "Oh, this guy, shit." Do you know what I mean? But for you, it can
Yep.
fester if you let it, and it's toxic. But really, it's nothing. It's just noise. If you can try and
Yep.
cut it out completely, and you're always going to get those people hating, man.
You look back and you go like, I wonder what like how would it they have looked on like the greats, the Ray Robinsons and all their back at like the bad performance. What are they going to say about them? Are they
Mm,
really going to say they weren't who they were? Muhammad Ali back in his day, if he didn't perform well or had an off day, what
mm,
were they going to say about him? You know what I mean? It's like
mm.
you gotta. I suppose it's the world we live in now, and it's your own perspective. And I've definitely changed my outlook on things since the start of the first year. Obviously, with the first year as a pro, I was younger. Um, I wasn't as experienced, and listen, it's all good now, so I'm happy.
I think also as well, like obviously you were coming off of the Olympic controversy, that the Vladimir Nikitin fight, and there was a lot of publicity about that. Obviously, we'll touch upon that a little bit as well, but that has all come out to fruition that those guys were crooked,
Yeah, yeah,
basically, and it's been proven. And I mean, but going into your debut, you had so many people to kind of warm to you for standing up to that injustice.
yeah,
And you look at that like yourself, obviously you'd already won Olympic bronze, but you were on path there and that was robbed of you, your
yeah.
life dream, kind of similarly to Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones. And I don't know, sometimes in a way, as gut wrenching as that is at the time, it can kind of be a blessing in disguise. I don't know how you
It's the best thing that's happened.
yeah.
Best thing that happened. They give me springboard into the pro game, which I don't think anybody had.
Mm,
Um, like of that Olympic Games,
mm,
like the much people have boxed my undercards champions. Sugar Stevens, silver medalist.
mm,
Robinson, Kansai style gold medalist. Um, so more, there's a good lot more I can't even think of at the minute, but like it done me the world of good, if I'm honest. It put me ahead of those guys in terms of publicity, in terms of earnings, everything like that. It shot me ahead of a lot of stuff. And I think how I reacted was just, and it's been proven as just.
mm,
Um, but what I've done as well, um, is much more than what happened with Floyd and much more happened with Roy. I've seemed like I've changed how amateur boxing's went, and now it looks like IBA now they're called. They're going to be removed from the Olympic Games, and it looks like there's a breakaway faction which is going to have the likes of Ireland, the US, GB, or they're all going to be staying up and trying to still go to the Olympic Games and hopefully they're for 26 and not even 24 looks in question. So, um, yeah, I hope it gets sorted.
No, it's amazing. So, I mean, something needed to be done, man. I mean, and these are just the big ones, like you say, the Olympic robberies. But even for, you said it at the time, man, it stings from the core right to the top.
Yeah,
I've been robbed in amateur fights, and like you drop a guy, beat him up in 2 rounds, and then you'll lose a 3 round. You're like, what?
yeah.
Like, it's just, but it's when you get to that level, it can destroy your life. But when you're kind of at the grassroots level when you're getting robbed, it's going to put people off the sport, man. It's just so.
Yeah, listen, it wasn't the first time I was robbed, you know what I mean? It was an accumulation of times which had happened. It was like I had planned to do it before, obviously, and it was through WSB. We're actually qualified for 2060 Olympics. And in that, this WSB is, for people who don't know, it's 5 rounds, professional format, professional scoring, no head guards, no vests, smaller kind of gloves. Um, and I was fighting every 2 weeks. So you had the most wins wherever you are in the rankings. Top two qualified in my division. Top one was actually the Russian, and I ended up being number two. But throughout that, I was screwed over in a few decisions. One in Azerbaijan
Mm.
and one in Kazakhstan. They were the only two I lost. And the Kazakhstan one, I was winning. It gets stopped on a cut, and the guy got the decision. The Azerbaijan one, it was close. I thought I won, but the Kazakhstan ones, the where was really screwed over. So I says, like, I came to the last. I needed to win the last fight, and I needed a decision to go my way somewhere else. No, in order to get lose. A guy I beat. He was fighting actually the Azerbaijani, who so the Azerbaijani needed to lose. Who was actually a Russian as well.
Mm.
Um, but however, I didn't think it was happening because I stopped this guy.
Mm.
He ended up, actually know who it was. It was Hector Luis Garcia.
Mm.
So it wasn't the guy I stopped. It was the other. He was the number two. It was meant to be the guy I stopped, but it was number two, which was Hector Luis Garcia, who fought Tank Davis there recently.
Yeah.
Um, so he ended up beating and stopping the Russian Azerbaijani guy and winning. But I says, like, the night before, the Russian needed to lose. Who Vladimir Nikitin, he needed to lose, and he ended up he came out. He's fighting Ukraine in Ukraine when all the madness was going on,
Mm.
and it came up with the decision that says like Ukraine win, Ukraine win, Ukraine win. I was like, I've won then. And then it says, no, that's not actually a real decision. This the Russian has won. I was like, fuck's sake. I said, see, after this, I'm going pro. I don't go fuck. I didn't think it's a chance of me qualifying. But after I fight, I'm just gonna give the fingers to the judge and say, fuck you, I'm going pro. So I says I wasn't going through the qualification, going to world championships and stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
So anyway, I have the fight. Ends up being an absolute war. It's in Venezuela against a Venezuelan, surrounded like in these favelas with all like the Venezuelans going Venezuela shouting like mad. Uh, make the fight. I go and try and knock him out. I said, I'm going to try and knock this guy out. I go and try and knock him out. Worst thing I could have done because you can punch and end up being a really hard fight. I win 4 rounds to one, but it was that tough. I did went and clap the crowd because it was it was a great fight and the atmosphere was fantastic. And then I was told the decision actually the Hector Luis Garcia beat the other guy, so I ended up qualifying and I was thankful I didn't say fuck off them because I would have been screwed.
It's a pretty grueling process, qualification, right? What happened to that W?
Yeah, and the actual qualification where I didn't want to go to the World Championship stuff was the World Championships ended up going and winning, so I qualified twice for the same Olympics.
Nice, man. What happened to the WSB? I remember Lomachenko in there and Usyk boxed Joyce in there, right?
Yeah, yeah, he boxed Joy. I was in that season as well. I actually boxed for the US knockouts in that season. I lost to Andrew Selby in that in York Hall. It was my first time fighting in York Hall, but I think it's went away. It was a lot of money, like, wasn't it? And I was like, so the first year when I was fighting for the Yanks, they were paying me 3 grand to win, 2 grand to loss. The second year I ended up fighting for Germany. They were paying me, it was because it was like teams. No, it was like playing for United or something like that. Um, club kind of teams, but it was countries. And I fought for the German Eagles, and there's a rich guy running it, a millionaire running it called Bittner. Um, they wanted me and they called me in like last minute to fight like Kazakhstan, and the Kazakhstanis were a really strong team. I says, well, listen, I want 5 grand cash if I win, so this is okay. So I was getting like big money doing that. But then when I ended up going to fight for the Italian team, they says if you want the number one spot to be able to qualify, we can't pay you. I says no problem. So I do that, and that's why
Oh,
I fought 7 times. Not one of them didn't get paid, but I didn't mind
bad
because I
format,
qualified.
that,
Yeah,
we got the German, Italian,
wasn't
Irish.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I
Yeah. So obviously you've given the finger, you turn pro with top rank. Your debut is just like different level, man. You sell out the
yeah.
Madison Square Garden fit. Conor
Yeah,
McGregor keeping you out. Is it St. Patrick's Day as well? Yeah.
Patrick's Day, yeah.
What's that like?
Unbelievable, mate. And like nobody, I don't think there's anybody in boxing that's ever had a debut like that. And I don't think there probably will be for a long time still because at that time, like I had the biggest star in combat sports, one of the biggest stars in the world, never mind sport, and Conor McGregor walking me out. It was a main event in a 6 round fight at MSG on a
Yeah,
debut on a national holiday for Ireland. It was unbelievable, man. It was crazy. And at that time, like I was fucking shitting myself because I was going, I've never boxed as a pro. I've never been hit with these small gloves. I obviously know about it because my brother told me about the difference in the gloves. I don't know what this is like. And I was going, this is a sold out MSG. I don't give a shit. What the fuck happens if I lose?
yeah, it's a lot of pressure, man.
I was freaking out. And then when McGregor came in, it was the theater in MSG, so the smaller room. The change rooms are the smallest you'll get. I'm getting bandaged up by Manny Robles. He was my coach at the time. And McGregor comes in with 15 people in his entourage. These rooms are tiny. I'm going, like, talking away and stuff. Next minute, my gloves are on. I'm getting ready to walk. I haven't done any warm up. I'm going, fuck me. And at the same time, I've told about 30 people, I'll knock this guy out in the third round, third round, third round, third round. Told everybody. Betting was actually suspended and suspicious betting was called on it. Can't fire. It's not like I told the opponent you're going down the third. If you watch the fight, it was a terrible performance. I just try to get him out of there in the third round because I'm in trouble here because people have put a lot of money in this. Obviously, had to be a lot of money of betting suspended.
Yeah.
So, it was I put a lot of pressure on myself at the same time. But that whole week and everything, my fight week, that World Champions don't get a fight week like that. I was on Good Morning America with uh Benny Blanco from the Bronx from that film, Carlito's Way.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. Um, like just it was crazy. It was like just proper like massive debut.
yeah.
The Fight Week media was I don't think I've probably done as hard media in my life.
Mm,
No. And it was crazy, but it was like threw into the deep end right away. Fighting a 4-4 guy who actually came to win. Like no, he wanted to win, but it wasn't in the league. But I didn't even understand that at the time. I was like, fuck. I don't care. I know I can beat this guy, but what happens if he hits me and I end up losing? So
those are some of the questions you got. I mean, no matter how experienced you are as an amateur, I mean, like the gloves in the pros are much smaller. The
yeah,
wraps are just like brutal, man. It's literally I've had times in the changing room where like I can't even get the gloves on. They're so small. Like
yeah.
it's a completely different thing. But I think like you've already touched upon, straight in the deep end. What an experience! And even if the performance wasn't great, like to your own standards, like man, it will obviously the fights will get harder than that, but the pressure is not going to get as big as that.
Nah, definitely not. And listen, I loved it, and I wouldn't change it because it put me in the position I'm in now. So it was great, and they even performance. I don't even look at the performance really. I just look at the event and go, "Wow, I done that," and that's the main thing. Like I had thousands flying from Ireland. You know what I mean? I'm a 0-0 prospect.
Mm,
Hasn't even had a fight, but you're right. The nerves and all, they're always going to be like that, and it's going to be tough because let's be honest, pro boxing is a completely different sport than amateur boxing. It's
mm.
like when people say you're a runner, but you're a marathon runner or a sprinter. No, it's not the same. They're completely different.
Yeah, no, that's it. And like you've already touched upon, I mean, you've mastered this amateur style, and now you're turning pro, and you have to plant your feet more. You have to just adapt. Obviously, you're trained by Adam Booth now in the boxing booth gym, but you were trained by is it Manny Robles? Did you say?
Manny's he's a great guy. So when I turned pro, Matt Macklin he ended up becoming my manager, and I've been speaking to Macklin for a long time, and he'd always kind of supported me throughout the Olympics and stuff. And I was going half for me if I'm honest, like because you're going like he's a professional boxer at the time, and he's like talking so good with me, and obviously his Irish connection. I'm going, fuck me, what a guy, and I'll lovely guy, and I'll bring me to his fights and stuff. I was yeah, fair play. And then I knew he knew boxing. I knew he's very knowledgeable in the sport. and I knew he had been in America and he had connections, and Top Rank reached out to me immediately after the Olympics, and I was like, Matt, what's crack? He's the only person that kind of, well, not only person, obviously my brother and stuff, but like, I was going, Matt, what do you think about this? He's like, listen, I had offers from Warren and stuff, big money, like for even on the side of the pond. But he says, Top Rank's where you should go.
Mm.
I says, listen, do you speak to them for me? He says, I have no problem doing that. So he spoke anyway, and when I did, they said to go with Top Rank, he says, that's go to America and train. I think that's where I need to be based. I'm going to be fighting over there a lot. So we went to America, 2016 November. Done like I was going over. I says I'll go over and do a trial of a few coaches. I went to one gym. I went to Manny's gym, and I went. Oscar Valdez here, 126.
Mm.
Jesse Magdalena's here, 122. I'm going to fight at 122 at the time. I was saying this. Um, So I says, this is the perfect place to be. I've got two world champions they were both WBO world champions. I was like, this is perfect spawn where I need to be. Train with Manny, really get on with him. Lovely fella. Went down, actually left LA, went to Vegas. On my birthday it was because Macklin was working for Sky at that time and Kovalev was fighting Andre Ward for the first time. So I
Mm.
watched that and I was
Mm.
like, wow, this is unbelievable.
I dropped him
Um,
there.
yeah, it was a great experience. And then went back up, finished the week with Manny, and went home and says, "Listen, we're going to move to LA." I said to my missus, "We're going to go to LA and we're going to live in LA." When I was there, I went around and looked at apartments and stuff, and fuck me, man, it was expensive. But I was lucky enough; I was getting paid a good like a monthly wage as well by Top Rank. They were paying me over fucking 10,000 a month, and I was wasting fucking 4,000 of it on apartment. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
crazy. I spent some money in that year. But yeah, we up sticks, moved to LA, moved everything. I came over with like 8 suitcases. Moved everything to LA. Think I thought I was staying there for 3 years, and then my missus was pregnant again by the October. Once I knew she was pregnant, I was like, listen, I think it's best to move back home because for me, the help out here with the baby, it's impossible. I'm training. We need a good support system around us. And there is in LA, there's not many Irish. If there was more Irish people and more of a connection and community kind of thing, it would have been good. But I'm honestly, LA is not the place. I wouldn't live there. Holiday, fantastic, but living there, there isn't real community.
I've heard it's quite a cold place, obviously, not literally, but
Yeah,
everyone's kind of there.
it's very false, very false. So I wouldn't live there, but there was no community. I think if I had been based in New York, maybe it would
Mm.
have been different because New York, I can walk down the street in New York and people will be saying hello, shouting
Mm.
across the road to me and stuff. Loads of Irish, loads of community, even up in the sticks of New York and stuff. There's plenty of Irish communities and stuff. So it would probably have been better to go there, but obviously it wouldn't be much of my money then. So um, and there wasn't as much good sparring in New York as there is in on the West Coast, you know what I mean, over in Cali and stuff. And Southern California is a hotbed for professional boxing. You got everybody coming there. You got the Uzbeks, you got the Russians, you've got the Americans, the Mexicans, everything.
Mm.
So that's why I was there. When I wasn't going to be there, I said, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back home. This, but there's only one person I'll train with, and it's Adam Booth.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, he's a great trainer. Obviously, you trained in Red Hill and then moved to the boxing booth gym. How did you find? Because obviously, when I started training alongside you, you were a few years into your training with Adam Booth. You were a few years into your pro career.
Yeah,
You adapted pretty well. I always found that you were good at standing up close from the experience I had with you. We didn't spar like a huge amount of rounds, but
yeah.
I always found that you're a great body puncher as well. I've seen you do a lot of people with the body punches. How was the adaptation to the professional style with Manny and then with Adam? How long did
Yeah.
that take and how did you approach it?
Yeah, so like as an amateur, now that I was a boxer, no, I've always seen a boxer. I could fade in close as an amateur because I did train with the pros as an amateur as well with my brother. I would have trained out in Bryn's gym with him when he was there. So would have been around the likes of Ian McGee and stuff and him and we've been teaching little dirty tricks and stuff and all that there. But so I always was kind of no, I knew what I was doing up close. But I didn't know the extent of what I was doing.
Mm.
When I went to Mani, I learned an awful lot. about body punching and an awful lot about fighting in close and where to be and where not to be. And that was probably one of the biggest things I took away from Manny was the body punching and the Mexican
Mm.
type style up close and how to be safe up close. When I went to Adam Booth, I knew that the first year as a pro that I was getting caught silly punches and stuff and getting like mixed up in styles. But when I went to Adam, um, the reason I went to him was because I wanted to get back to my boxing.
Mm.
Even in the last fight with Manny and stuff, I was like, I'm probably just going to do what I do here myself. I'm not even going to like think about going in and trying the body punch. And I actually just went out and boxed southpaw and end up like schooling the dude and looking probably the best I looked as a pro.
Mm.
So I was like, I need to kind of get back to my box.
Mm.
Um, when I went to Adam, I felt like I never knew how to box until I kind of adjust and different things like jab and like breaking things down to the smallest things, the mistakes I was making was crazy. So when I went back, it took a bit of time to adjust the Adam style, but I knew that's what I needed, and that's always going to be how I fight, and the best way for me to fight is that. But I had the thing in the locker of being able to fight up close,
Mm.
being able to punch well to the body,
Mm.
and knowing when to go to the body, when not to go to the body, and that was all. That was learned over in LA.
I think that's the big thing with the pros as well. Like obviously you have that amateur experience, but the fights are so long and you're going to fight so many different styles. You need to be able to do both. You need to be able to adapt. So obviously if you're outboxing someone and then they're starting to get to you, you need to be able to stick them up close and move. And that's the big thing that I've found with yourself as well. Like, like you say, your boxing skills are there, but just people don't want to get close to you because they know you're going to take those body shots.
Mm.
I also found as well, like, obviously I sparred everyone in the gym, but with yourself, like it's the unpredictability. Obviously, you got this like ambidextrous style where you switch it. Was that
Mm.
something did you ever watch anyone that inspired you to do that? I know you mentioned Prince Nassim earlier. He was a pretty unorthodox. He would
Yeah.
switch every now and then.
Nah, I'll it was boy two as an amateur, and it was an All Ireland semi final, and I was fighting this kid who just came forward and steamrolled me in the first round, and it was like 5 points up at the first round. I was like, fuck. By the end of the first round, I turned southpaw, and I turned him with a hook, and I was like, okay, that was easy. So I
Mm.
came out the next round, and I stayed southpaw, and I just kept hitting them with a hook, hit them with a hook, hit them with a hook. And then from then, I just kept doing it. And my father obviously implemented it more in my style, make me do both styles in the pads and stuff. And, you know, even down to like when I qualified for 2012 Olympics, I was fighting Nordino Bali, Olympic, he beat on a count back for a medal in the 2008 Olympics against Zhu Ximin. And
Mm.
then
He's gone, yeah.
he's WBC world champion, lost his title to Nino Renner recently enough at bantamweight. Um, but yeah, I was fighting him, and the first time I ever heard of him was, you know, the old amateur coach in our gym, Jamie, and they're fighting for Ireland against France in the south of Ireland, and lost against this Northern kid, and the amateur coach at the time said the best amateur boxer I've ever seen. I'm in the world championships. He's number two seed. I end up winning a few fights, fighting him to qualify for 2012 Olympics. And he's a southpaw and he's number two seed. And the only reason I know him is as the best amateur boxer my old coach had ever seen. I come out orthodox, catch him some great shots, go southpaw in the next round, roll hook, bang, catch
Important.
him, roll hook, roll hook, roll hook. End up catching him, end up winning. He won the first round. I won the next two rounds in the qualifying for 2012. Same thing happened. Fought him in the fought him for a medal in the 2012 Olympics. First round, came out. I think I started even southpaw or start over. I don't know what one I did, but took over again. Roll hook, roll hook, roll hook, non-stop. Ended up getting my medal in the 2012 Olympics. So I done it in the at times in the amateur career at the biggest stages. Um, when people don't expect it to happen or don't expect it to change what they're doing, I was happy to take them risks and go for it then.
Yeah, no, man, that's it. I mean, it's all about taking a risk because if you can pull it off, it's just such an awkward proposition for your opponent to have to adapt to, like a split second thing. It's and like I say from experience, I know how awkward it is when you switch, you have to completely adjust. But let's talk about the boxing booth, Jim. Obviously, you train alongside Abbas Barral, Josh Kelly, Harlem Eubank. But let's talk about Paul Forrester.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Fozzy. Fozzy is the
yeah,
man, isn't
yeah, he's the man. And to be honest, I don't even know where I'd probably still be here if it wasn't for Fozzy because he's salt of the earth, man. The best, probably that without doubt, I can actually say he's the best man I've met in boxing, and he's not even like he just does it for the love of it. He's not doing it like to compete. He's not doing it to do anything. He's just a great guy, all round good guy. Really loves boxing, and you can see it, and just a good human being. You know what I mean? There's not one bit of selfishness or ego in him to do anything harmful or want anything different for anybody. He's just a good guy and wants the best for everybody and just wants everybody to succeed. So, um, a big inspiration. Someone who I would love to be like when I'm fucking 52 years, 51 years old. The fittest man I've ever seen. This guy's doing the sessions I'm doing, and
he?
he's still doing them and doing them and doing them. So, especially me, definitely.
Yeah, no, fittest 51-year-old ever. And like he's for me personally, he's someone that has just pushed me to new limits, like not just physically, but mentally, man. Like for those that don't know, like Fozzy, Paul would be in the morning training himself, and then he'd be in the evening on you when you're doing your sit-ups, on you when you're doing your sprints. Just the mind.
And Paul's, he's up at 6 a.m. He goes to work. He comes to the gym, goes back to work, comes back to the gym. It's like he's crazy. It's like his routine is mental, and I just have utmost respect for him.
Yeah, but it goes to show it's a mindset thing, and that's that. I hate. Obviously, I always thought that your mindset was the best in the gym. I think the only guy that could rival you is probably Fozzy because he's just the man. But let's talk about your mindset. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, I can say from experience that you're pretty ruthless. I remember times where we were running Box Hill, and it would be like the fifth hill. We're like an hour in, and I'm kind of taking it easy ever so slightly, and you're like, "Damn, fucking move."
yeah.
You know what I mean, but you need that. It's that relentless mindset, and I've seen you approach just sparring 100%, everything. You just take it 100%. Where does that stem from? And what can you tell me about that?
I think it's part of it. Definitely has to be growing up in a house for boys. The rivalry, the competitiveness. You know, one thing is I would never fight my brothers or have like jealousy of my brothers. I love them so much, but growing up, my dad just made us like compete all the time. So it was just the competitiveness there, and being the best you can be is always something I've wanted to do. And I know that I have to go through barriers that I don't want to go through, but I'll go through them to get to where I need.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I just lost you for a sec there. Yeah, no, that's 100%. Yeah, I mean, boxing is such a psychological sport as well, and like just from being around you guys, and obviously Adam Martin stable as well. That's it's one of the things in my professional journey that I noticed is how psychological it is. Like the more you push yourself, the more confidence you have, the more. I mean? It just things just evolve, and it all stems from that mindset and that hard work.
Yeah, definitely. I think like when you don't do things, the reason you doubt yourself at times is if you haven't ticked all the boxes. I
Mm.
make sure I tick the boxes and tick extra boxes because I don't want any doubt. All that stuff. If you don't do them right, that's where your doubt starts to creep in. And no, I make sure I do it so I don't have that.
No, 100%. Let's talk about your pro career. So obviously you're 18 and one now. You've beaten the likes of TJ Durney. Is it Miguel Mariaga? You also
Yep,
beat Nikitin as well. You got
yep,
a redemption there. The redemption t-shirts came out. That was pretty cool. And Kareem Murphy as well. Another top level guy. You're actually on a really good run of form. But the big fight is obviously the Leigh Wood title fight in Nottingham.
yep.
I mean, firstly, I remember I was at my mother-in-law's 50th and I just went upstairs. I just had the zone on. I was like, leave me alone. I'm watching this fight. And I mean, it's a career best performance for a large chunk of the fight against a real tough, solid fighter and just an all-time classic. Obviously, I was extremely gutted by the end of it. Tell us a little bit about that fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight. I probably made some mistakes throughout it in terms of like my output and stuff. Like I hadn't trained too blatantly in the first round and then try to wipe him out. And I knew he was tough and knew he was gritty, 100%. And I said that before the fight. I said off, but skill wise, it was on a different level, and I think it showed in the whole fight and everything I was doing. But um, one thing I didn't account for was obviously, you're having him out and then having to put the foot in the gas and then having I had no breaks. There was no breaks in that fight. It was just non-stop
Mm,
punching, 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 and by the end of it, I was fatigued and I was caught with a shot which I didn't see and made a silly defensive move. Like if you look at that fight as well, I didn't even hold much at all. Like if any, I was just punching and punching and punching. So, um, it was a great fight, man. It was fantastic. Like it's obviously one fight of the year everywhere around the world. Um, but yeah, I won the second. Like, when you think there was a minute and a half left, and you get knocked out, you're up in all cards.
yeah.
Oh, it was hard, man. It was hard to take.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, man, I think, like, you were in so much control early on in that fight. It was starting off a great performance. Like that left hand was catching him at will. You have to pay testament to his toughness as well, because the amount of body shots that he was taking, and to come that close to the world title, although that is a setback, I think that could really drive you. I mean, I don't know how you're feeling. You've got your world
Yeah.
title fight coming up in May 27th, and the experience you can learn from that. You say you
That's
make.
it. That's it. It's experience, Dan. Like it was the only thing I didn't have in that fight was the experience.
Mm,
Experience of fighting for a world title, experience of going through that, you know, barrel of fire throughout the whole fight. Um, And like you said, the body shots in the fight, my God, we gotta give him credit because every time I hit him, the body he was going every single time. Like I'm not lying, I was like, I could hear the noises. Like I could see like he was hitting me, and he's known as a big puncher. He was putting his life in shots, and he
mm,
was hitting me in the body, hitting me in the arms and stuff. And I was just making sure I was stone faced, like not giving any emotion, not giving any wins. But yeah, the experience of that winning the world title fight can't bad. You have to go through it. And I went through it, and I realized, how hard I fought and how and the effort I put in when I probably could have saved myself an awful lot of times, like wasting energy, because it was like he is tough, man. He was taking some serious, serious shots. He was out. There was more seconds in the first round. The fight was probably over, but um, yeah, you got to give him credit for playing him in that fight.
yeah, no, 100%. And to be honest with you, I know it's a loss, but if anything, your stock's risen tenfold, because not only did you show your class, but you also showed the toughness. And it's just a fight that people will talk about for a long time. And obviously, you have your chance to claim that IBF world title against Luis Alberto Lopez coming up. Now, he's got a bit of a crazy style, isn't he? He's very explosive, but he's got a crazy style.
Unorthodox, man. He's very unorthodox. He doesn't really have like your typical Mexican type style. He does things crazy. He shoots shots which are unorthodox, unexpected, and jumps in, switches stances accidentally. Um, but yeah, he's a very good fighter. Listen, he's a road warrior. He's been on the road. He went to Leeds and won the title against Josh Warrington, which not many people do. So yeah, you got to give him credit. He's a very, very good fighter, a very tough challenge in front of me.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, I know your mindset. I know you'll be going to, approaching this 100%. And I've got all faith in you, man. And obviously, it's in Belfast as well. Let's talk
Yeah,
about your support. I mean, like the support of the Irish is just crazy, man. I've even seen you got songs about you that Mick Constantine, who wrote the
yeah,
Conor McGregor song, has written songs about you. Your
yeah.
ring walks are just like, they get posted on YouTube because they're like spine tingling. Do you know what I mean? With stuff like
Mm.
that. Tell us all about that, man. That's going to be some atmosphere.
Yeah. There's a few things planned as well, like a different type of walkout this time in the arena, and yeah, admit they're special. The ring walks, I think it's probably the only thing I'll miss when I finish boxing is the ring walks.
Mm,
Um, because they're different, mate. Not everybody, anybody really gets to experience him. A small percentage,
yeah.
even in boxing, which is a small percent of people, an even smaller percentage will ever get to experience that, even champions and stuff. So I'm very lucky, very blessed to have the support I do, and you know, it's a special fan base, and they travel everywhere to watch me. So, the fact that I can have a world title fight at home for them makes it a lot more special. And then, being the challenger and doing it in Belfast will be, fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to move on. I won't keep you for much longer, but I wanted to kind of ask you about some of your favorite ever fighters. And obviously, I love the old school. I love the history of the sport.
Mm.
Who are some of the fighters that not only inspired you, but just some of the ones you love watching now or from whenever?
Yeah, well, Pacquiao was always massive. Love watching Manny Pacquiao.
You boxing his
Um,
undercard, right?
yeah, boxing his undercard when he fought Jeff
Jeff
Horn.
Horn. Yeah, yeah.
Jeff Horn. So it was an unbelievable experience. I was devastated he lost.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was great. Fight on his undercard. Actually, my debut was meant to be on a Manny Pacquiao undercard in Vegas in
Oh, really?
November of 2016. They asked me, did I want that? And I'm like, oh, Pacquiao. And then or we could wait the March and we could do Patrick's Day in New York. And I says, oh,
Yeah, yeah. No
I was
brainer.
like, without even saying, I was in my head, I was going, where's this contract? I'll sign it right now. Um, but no, my favorite fighters, like if you watched like Duran Leonard, them two, both of them guys are both like favorites of my old type fighters. Nas was one of my first inspirations of boxing. That's the reason my ring walks are how they are, is because it's the show before the show. It's the
Mm.
entertainment business, and he done it in his way. I do it my way, which is different, but I still know that the ring walks and stuff are a big part of things just because of Nas. I mean, that's why I do them really.
Mm.
Um, and now, like the likes of Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, those type of fighters are fantastic fighters to watch, I think. And even Lomachenko, I don't really know if he wins against Devin Haney. I think it's just he's like Haney's huge. I mean,
Yeah, Lomachenko's small for the weight as well, isn't
huge. And Lomachenko's really a featherweight, let's be honest. But Haney is massive because I fought in Vegas um the other year. And Haney wasn't. He was at the. He was in Vegas. He was at the fight, and I remember after I went in, I was walking down like in the hotel, walking down like the corridor. He was walking in front of me. I'm going. I'm a featherweight, but he's 2 weights above me here.
he?
He looked like light heavyweight. I
Yeah,
was going,
crazy.
what the fuck? How does he make weight? I struggle to make this weight. How is he making 135? He is like freakishly big. Um, Loma's a bit he's getting on. He's like 35, 36 or something now. Unbelievable fighter, one of my favorite fighters of all time, 100%. Um, and definitely a Hall of Famer in my opinion. Just and I've Loma's been an idol of mine since I was an amateur because I was on so many trips and seen him firsthand. I've seen him win 2012 Olympics, World Championships, everything. Beat Cubans, like throwing a 6 punch combination, like five of them to the body and finish with hook the head and drop them. You're going, oh my God, this guy's God. You know what I mean? He's the God of boxing. And like, I don't think that his pro career probably is as good as what it could have been or
Mm.
should have been. Unbelievably, it's been amazing. But I say the fact that he's like Ukrainian or Eastern European, so to say, um, has affected like how big he actually could have been if he had been from US or England or even Ireland. He would have been, you know,
Oh,
he would
super.
have been like the greatest of all time. He would have been ranked like that. So
He's unbelievable,
it's just
man.
yeah, he's special, and I think like you can't write him off even against Haney still. I
Mm.
just think he could be too small and probably too old.
No, I agree. He's like one of my favorite fighters of all time as well. And I think, the Teofimo Lopez loss has not derailed his career, but it's really knocked it because he was just on this
Yeah,
pound, on just, yeah, trajectory. But Mick, I'll leave it there, man. Thank you very much for coming on. I really,
here's
really
Tom.
appreciate your time, man. And, it's great to chat to you and just all the experiences I've had with you. They stick with me very well. So thank you very
Yeah,
much, man.
running
Best
Tom.
on May 27th. I will be watching. And yeah, see you bring the IBF title back.
Good man, I sure. I'll bring it over to the gym. You can come down and see.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, mate.